Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar again. If you were at the last one, you know that we covered source view variables and watch expressions. That obviously is related to today's topic, which is source view tracing in C. So we may touch lightly on the variables again, but for more detail, I can refer you back to the previous webinar, which is on the tpfsoftware.com website. So to start off, I would like to show you how we get things, various ways to set up, well, I just use the word lock, to lock things in for trace. That is the default way, or the major way to get things ready for source view trace. So what I've got here is I've got a project. It's a C program. It's got 5 source files plus a make file. So I'm going to show you the broad avenue that we go down usually to get things into source view trace. So I'm going to just load this from the projects view, because I want to show you this dialog box and explain this a little bit. This dialog box is for load set creation. We'll just go through this quickly. If you selectively load, it's loaded only for yourself. If you, it can be shared with others, but it's loaded for yourself. Automatic activation means as soon as we're done with this, creating this load set, it will be loaded onto the system. The more interesting options for this webinar are the source view trace options. So you can choose none, which means after the load set is actually, after the program is actually loaded onto the system, you'll have to choose which files to lock into trace. If you choose select, a dialog box will be offered to you so that you can select from the dialog box what to lock into trace. If you choose refresh, it will keep locked in whatever you have locked in now, and all will lock in all. I'm going to just show select here. So it's going to put the load set into the load sets view. So you see over here now on the left, the load sets view has come forward, not the projects view anymore. And we've got these options. And I will go ahead and lock all of these into trace. And what you see is that they appear here, and one by one they get the little lock symbol. So they're ready for source view trace. I want to show you a couple of other ways to do this. So I'm going to unlock them all. One way to unlock a file is just to close it. And you see we lost the little lock symbol in the load sets view. You can also come over here and right-click and say remove from source view trace. You can multi-select and do that. Also remove from source view trace. And if you go right up onto the SO itself, you can remove all from source view trace, or you can add trace and source view. If you right-click on the SO to do that, that will lock all of them. Now the compiler-generated one, we don't want that locked anyway, so that's why that one is skipped. Okay, so now we're here. Now we want to get into the program. The way we're going to do that today is we have a little transaction that will get us into this program. Okay. Now you can see the pinkish line is where we are. This is where I've set a breakpoint previously. We're here. I just want to orient you to what's happened in the program, because it can help you to to keep oriented, to know, you know, what ZTPFGI has done to get you into source view trace as far as the layout goes. So if we look on the View tab, we can see we're in the debug layout, and that's what happens when you enter source view trace, or really a assembler trace. Also, I mean, it's just not just C, but you go into the debug layout for source view trace. For normally you're in the default layout. And that's showing a different arrangement of things. For example, the going back into debug layout, the watches, the call stack, the variables were not displayed in the default layout. They are in the debug layout. Okay, that's the layout. Now the debug tab is only becomes visible when you actually stop in the program in source view trace. So I'm just going to exit all. I'll run no trace to get out of this. Okay, now we've gone back into the default view. You notice there's no debug tab up here. So that could be confusing later if you're looking around for the debug tab, you can't find it. That's because we're not stopped in source view trace yet. So I'm going to stop in source view trace again. The debug tab appears. We're put there. I mean, that's made into the active ribbon tab. And then we can see our debug view. Okay, now let's go over these some of these buttons. Step into will, you know, if you're on the name of a function, it will step into the function. And so let's go down to a function. And now if we quick step into, we've stepped into the function. And we're about to step into another function, get my handle. Now we step into that function. Yeah, step out will step out of the function. Step through, let's go where we are back here. Now if I quick step into, we will step into a function because we're constructing an object here. But I'll quick step through, and we stepped through it. We didn't go into the function. So that's the difference, obviously, between step into and step through. Now run, which in TPFGI was called run fast, but so run will run to a breakpoint. To set a breakpoint, you click on any line with a blue dot. So the blue dot shows which lines are executable. So I can click there, there, and so forth. And to undo the breakpoint, you would click the breakpoint symbol again. So if I click the set a breakpoint, then I can run to it. And there we've hit that break. Now branch to cursor will branch immediately to the place you want to go to. Let me run no trace, get back to where we were. We're back here. So now, okay, there's the difference between run to cursor and branch to cursor. Run to cursor runs normally up to that point as if you had set a breakpoint there. So if I click there and I click run to cursor, it's as if I had set a breakpoint there and I ran there, but I didn't have to go to the trouble of clicking in the gutter to set the breakpoint. Branch to cursor will actually skip the stuff that's in between the two locations. So if I click here and I go branch to cursor, I will not pass through do additional test 1. So if I click branch to cursor, I've gone immediately there. For your testing, you very well may want to skip some lines if you know they're not important for the testing you're doing right now, or they're causing you some problems, but you don't want to stop and recompile or something. You could skip past those lines to get to where you really want to be to test. But you have to keep in mind that any initialization of variables and so forth, that was skipped to get to that point. Okay, now step into new ECB really applies to us. We're not going to demonstrate that. It really applies to assembler. And so exit ECB will exit our current ECB. And obviously, if we had multiple ECBs, exit all ECBs would exit them all. Let's go back to the program again. Now, I'll briefly show you some things about the variables, but briefly because we covered that in the last webinar. If you want to know the value of a variable, the easiest way is just to hover over that variable name. And you can see this has not been initialized yet, so it's a absurdly large negative value or very small value, however you want to look at that. If I step, now it's been initialized to 3, so I can see the value is 3. If you hover right over the structure or class, you can get a view where you can progressively drill down into the values, even of nested structures and classes. In the variables view, you can see that no name, the value has become red because of the line we just stepped through. So you can see the value of A is 3. So these will update in the variables view, and they show you the local variables. They don't show you any variables that are outside of this particular function. Now, and the advantage of the variables view over the hovering is that you can go in and you could manually change the value. Okay, and what applies to that also applies to the watches as far as being able to change the values. So in the watch expressions, I could, if I wanted to, really keep a close eye on no name A. Now I can see it's 5. So I could keep a close watch on it as I step through. I actually don't think it's going to change anymore. This is just a little sort of a test program that does a lot of silly things. But I don't think it's going to change anymore. But if I wanted to keep a watch on my request header ID, I could do that. And we'll see that that changes. Okay. And the advantage of the watch expressions view, the main advantage is that you can watch things that are outside of the local function, or you can drill down to exactly the level you want to look at it. And there are different watch tabs, so that if you wanted to have different groups of watches that you were keeping an eye on at a certain time, you could add it to the different pages of the watch expressions. This tab will show you from the point of view the values of the member variables of the class you're in. So let's go see that. This function, this file is where a couple of classes are. Let's put our that's a constructor. Let's come here. Let's run and get to this breakpoint. Then we'll look and see what this looks like. Got to get past. Okay, so here we are. Oh, there we go again. Sorry about that. At add customer member function of the C Rolodex class. Now, if I go to this page of the variables, I can see the member variables in that function. Okay. And this shows the local variables, and I could drill down into this here also. The call stack allows you to go back to, of course, the caller. So you can go back to various places where you were being called from. So it's sort of like the nesting. for this for the program. Okay, we talked about exit ECB. We talked about exit all ECBs. Run no trace will get you through. Even if you set breakpoints, it won't matter. Run no trace will get you out of it. Of course, exit ECB will also get you out of the program, but run no trace runs all the way through. It might be a little cleaner exit. It's really your preference whether you want to break out dramatically with exit ECB or you want to run no trace and go all the way through. Reset terminal is an even more drastic action to actually remove all the ECBs with the terminal that was associated with, with kicking off this transaction. You would really have to be stuck pretty bad to need that. That's really probably not something you'll need very often. Now, machine trace will show the machine trace area, which will show you some information. It will show you the machine instructions for the lines you're going through. Once you've activated this view, you will step through at the instruction level. So there will often be multiple steps per source line when you quick step into. So see, I quick step into, but we didn't advance. There we go again. Sorry about that. And so step into will step multiple times. I think I better exit this again. I'm sorry about that. I'll exit this again, come back into it. Okay. Here we are. Step into. All right. So we'll go to the machine trace. Step into will do multiple steps per line. Okay, and when you don't want to do that anymore, you can turn it off. Now, machine trace is on. It's turned on for all the files that you might step into while it's on. So if we went into this file over here, it would also be on. Okay. Now, do you always have to lock things in before you trace them? The answer is no. That used to be the case, but that's not so anymore, because now we have an option called source mode that will actually find the program or file that you want to go into when you're stepping into it. When source mode is on, when you're stepping into, say, a function that belongs to another file, or if you're stepping into another program, it will actually go find that for you, find the source, open the source for you, lock it into trace for you, and you can step into it. To demonstrate that, it will work between programs, but I'm going to just demonstrate it within this same program. So the first thing I'm going to do is, let me get my load sets view back. If you ever lose your load sets view, go back to the System tab, and it's right there. Okay. Go back to the Debug tab. We're here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, I'll just get rid of all, I'll just unlock all these for now. So let's get out of here. We'll run no trace. I'm going to remove all from source view trace. Just going to lock one of them. Okay, because we've got to have a starting point. In fact, I'm going to close the others. Okay, so we're here. If I turn on, okay, now we know that, see, do additional test 2. Let's run here. Run to cursor. We'll step into that. We know that C Rolodex, let me see, where was I? Lost myself, I'm sorry. Got to get back to that. Okay. Okay, do additional test one. Okay, I've got a breakpoint there anyway, so I'll run to that breakpoint. Now I know that this steps into, I believe it's APE for CA1. Now without source mode on, if I say step into, it really does a step over because it's not locked in. Okay, I'm going to just exit this ECB, go back to where I was to show the difference when we're in source mode. I'll run to that breakpoint. Okay, now if I turn on source mode and I say step into, it goes, it locates the file and it locates the source, opens it, locks it in, and you can see over here it's locked in. Although it would not have to be something that you had in your load sets view. It could be a different program. It would find it, lock it in for you, and perform the step into that for you. So source mode is very nice, and I think some people rely on that quite a bit as a good convenience. Something that's interesting that you want to have in mind is if it's loaded automatically, it'll also be unloaded automatically for you. So if I run no trace, just let the program exit, what ZTPFGI should do is unlock this, close it, so that it's not cluttering up the view anymore. So let's see. Yep, so it went away. APE4A1 is still locked in, but APE4 CA1 has gone away. Okay, now while I'm thinking about this, I'm opening that file. If you want to open the file without locking it, you can right-click and say Edit Source, and it will just open the source for you. One thing I didn't show is that to lock the file, you can right-click it and say Trace in Source View if it's not locked in. However, if you do that, it has to be over here in your load sets view. Otherwise, because what ZTPFGI does is it says, oh, you want to trace this? Okay, let me go basically to the load sets view, or the data that we have in the load sets view, and it says, can I find APE4 CA1 over here? I mean, and it looks, it's smart. It doesn't just look for the file name. It looks for more than that. But if it's not over here, it can't lock it in for you. So if you've ever got a file open and you try to lock it in and it doesn't lock in, just remember it would have to be in the, if you try to lock it in from over here, it does have to be over in the load sets view in order for you to do that. Okay. All right, let's go back to stepping through our program. Source file cannot be, oh, there we go. I hit the wrong key. I hit the wrong function key. Let me get out of this. Okay, here we go. No. Okay. The reason this has happened is that source mode is on, and in going to get to the APE4, we've stopped. The debugger has found something and loaded it for us. A program that we're hitting on the way to APE4, and that's why this has happened. Let me turn off source mode, and let's run and see what happens. Okay, there we are. That's where we wanted to be, because we didn't really want this. So that shows the power of source mode there. Okay. Now you do have the trace options even though we're in source view mode, you do have the trace options available to you, and you can view the ECB. And what it does is it brings up the ECB attached to the terminal. And so you've got all, you can see the registers and everything by going to the ECB. Now, as you probably know, there are some structures that C uses to pass the registers back and forth to assembly language programs that it calls TPF regs, right? TPF regs in source view doesn't update to show the registers. So if you've got TPF regs in the watches, that's not going to update live to show the registers. If you want to really see in C, when you're source view debugging C, if you want to see what the registers are, you need to go to the ECB to see the registers. The TPF regs, if you just put it in the watches, it won't update. Now, I think when we have a demo, a webinar of tracing in assembler, you'll see that in assembler you can see the registers updated live right in the variables view. But in C, what you see in the variables view is the local variables. You don't actually see the registers being updated live. So you have access to the ECB. And you also have, if you want, you have access, you can set some trace options in case you want to drop down to a lower level of trace, even while you're also got all your source view settings set. So we could say all macros, and that's set for us. Now if we step, we should, there we go. Now we've hit a macro, and so this has popped up. And so we can, you know, you can drop down to this level and trace if you want to. Now, something to be aware of, what's happened here once we've dropped down to this level, and I know we've got to wrap up soon, but when we drop down to this level, see we're on the Trace tab now. We're no longer on the Debug tab. So now the buttons that are available to us look a little different because these are stepping at the macro instruction level instead of at the source view level. So if I'm stepping now, okay, so we've stepped back, so we got out of that. But that can be confusing if you're not aware that, okay, now I'm doing the lower level of trace. Now I'm back in the source view level, so I'm back on the Debug tab. All right, I'm going to remove that option. No macros. And I also wanted to show you these options because in the past, a few versions ago, these trace options weren't available on the Debug tab, and now they are. Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you, the breakpoint list. This shows the breakpoints that we've set. You can also, if you go into breakpoint properties, you can set groups for the breakpoints and disable and enable by group so that you can manage your breakpoints more efficiently. If you're a very organized user of breakpoints, that could be very useful. You can also enable or disable these breakpoints from here if you wanted to. For example, this one, C Rolodex. No, okay, I can't find that one right now, but yes, okay, oh, there it was. I'm sorry. It's down here, and when I was clicking over here, it was enabling or disabling that one. Let's see, okay. All right, I'm sorry for the couple of little warnings we saw that were just because I was using a test version, but so I'd be happy to take any questions now.
Thanks, Ed. That was an informative session. Now the session is open for your questions.
Well, everyone, thank you very much for attending. I hope if you have any questions, you will let us know. You can write to info@tpfsoftware.com, and there's also information on our website. And so thank you very much for attending today. We're going to end the session now.
We appreciate your participation. Please do come back. Thank you.